You have seen the tours, the marble entryway, the 20-car garage, the infinity pool bleeding into the horizon. Millions of us watch them. And every tour ends the same way, at the front door, with the camera walking out. Nobody ever shows you what happens when the camera leaves. Nobody shows you Tuesday morning. That is what this video is. Not the price. We counted those bills in another video. Not the tour. The actual daily life inside a 30,000 square foot house, assembled from what estate managers, architects, staff, and former owners have described over the years. And I will make you 3 promises up front. First, you will learn why people who own 30 bedrooms almost always end up living in 3 rooms. A pattern so consistent that luxury architects have a name for it. Second, you will learn about the invisible morning, a choreography that happens in these houses before the owner wakes up, borrowed from an industry you would never guess. And third, by the end, you will understand the strangest fact of all, why so many people who finally get the dream house quietly sell it within a few years, and what they buy next. It is not a bigger one. Hold your envy until the end. It might not survive. Start with the first morning, because the fantasy is real, and it would be dishonest to pretend otherwise. The first morning in a mega mansion is everything you imagine. You wake up in a bedroom the size of an apartment. Your footsteps echo. Sunlight comes through double-height windows onto floors that cost more than most homes. You make coffee in a kitchen that looks like a showroom, and you carry it 200 feet to a breakfast room, and you feel, for a moment, like the main character of your own movie. Owners describe that first stretch, the first days, sometimes the first weeks, as a kind of high. Every hallway is a discovery. Every room is a promise. Now let time pass. Because a house is not a first morning. A house is 10,000 ordinary mornings. And this is where the real story starts. The first thing that changes is distance. In a normal home, distance does not exist. Everything is 10 steps away. In a mega mansion, distance is a constant low-grade tax on every single action. You are in bed and you realize you left your phone in the study. That is a 4-minute round trip. The kids are somewhere in the house, but somewhere now covers 30,000 square feet on 3 levels, so families text each other from inside the same building. Many of these houses have intercom systems for exactly this reason. And estate staff will tell you the intercom is not a luxury feature. It is a necessity, because shouting does not work in a house where the person you are shouting for is 2 fire doors and 150 feet away. And distance produces the first famous pattern. Ask luxury architects and estate agents what actually happens in these houses. And they will tell you, with remarkable consistency, the family contracts. Within a year or 2, life concentrates into a small cluster of rooms: the kitchen, a family room, the master suite. The rest of the house, the ballroom, the formal dining room that seats 24, the home theater, the gift wrapping room, drifts into a strange half-life, climate-controlled, cleaned on schedule, and empty. Some architects call it the 3-room life. Owners of 30-room houses, living, night after night, in the same 3 rooms, exactly like the rest of us, just with a much longer walk to the fridge. Sit with that image for a second, because the entire video lives inside it. A lit, warm, spotless mansion at 9 in the evening, and one family gathered in one corner of it, while 40 other rooms hold their breath in the dark. But the house does not run itself while it waits. Which brings us to the invisible morning, and my second promise. A house this size cannot be cleaned by a person. It cannot even be cleaned by a family of people. A 30,000 square foot estate typically runs on a staff of 10 to 20. Housekeepers, a chef, groundskeepers, maintenance techs, security, and above them all a house manager, whose actual job title in the industry is sometimes, tellingly, estate director. And here's the detail almost nobody outside these houses knows. The entire operation is modeled on the luxury hotel industry. Many estate managers are hired directly out of five-star hotels, and they bring the hotel's core doctrine with them. The doctrine is called invisible service, and it means one thing: the owner should see the result, never the work. So the house resets like a hotel. Staff arrive before dawn. There are service corridors and staff staircases in many of these homes, built so that a housekeeper carrying laundry never crosses the owner's path. Cleaning schedules are choreographed around the family's calendar. This wing while they are at breakfast, that wing while they are out. In the most formal houses, staff are trained to withdraw from a room when the owner enters. Fresh flowers appear. Towels change themselves twice a day. A crumpled newspaper left on a chair at 8 is gone by 9, and its replacement is folded. Owners describe an eerie feeling that takes about a month to notice. The house is always perfect, and you never see anyone make it perfect. You live inside a magic trick performed daily by a dozen people whose full-time job includes not being seen by you. Even dinner works differently here, and this detail surprises people more than the cleaning. In most of these households, the owner does not decide what is for dinner. The chef does, a week in advance, in a menu meeting, the way a restaurant plans service. Groceries arrive by the van load, ordered against a standing inventory. Because a kitchen feeding a family, plus 10 or 20 staff, plus constant guests, is not a kitchen. It is a small restaurant with one very important table. Owners describe the strange adjustment of opening their own refrigerator and finding it stocked by someone else's hand, with brands someone else chose. Want a midnight snack? In the biggest houses, the main kitchen might be a 3-minute walk from the master suite, which is why many of these homes quietly install a second, smaller kitchen upstairs, a morning kitchen so the owner can make toast without commuting. Think about what that means for a moment. The house is so large that it needs a second kitchen, whose entire purpose is to protect you from the first one. And now ask the obvious question: what does it cost, not in money but in life, to be the trick's audience? The first payment is privacy. This is the one every single insider mentions. From the outside, a gated mansion looks like the most private place on earth. From the inside, it is the opposite. There are always people in your house. The pool company on Monday and Thursday. The landscapers, sometimes daily on a large estate. The window crew, on ropes, outside your bathroom. The HVAC tech in the mechanical room. The arborist. The elevator inspector. Because, yes, the house has elevators, and elevators have inspections. Estate managers keep vendor logs that read like the loading dock of a mid-size office building. One manager put it in a way that stays with you. The family does not live in a home. They live in a small institution that never fully closes. You are never actually alone. You have staff you trust, screened, background checked, bound by confidentiality agreements, which are now standard in this world. And still, you learn to have your arguments quietly because the walls have payroll. The second payment is spontaneity. Nothing in this life is casual. Friends do not drop by. They are announced at a gate. Your kids' playdates involve security protocols. Leaving the house is a production, and coming home is a production. And somewhere in year one, you notice that the house has a gravitational pull. Everything is here: the gym, the theater, the pool, the office. So why go anywhere? Estate psychologists and family offices have a quiet term for what happens to some owners next, especially after retirement: the golden bubble. The house is so complete that the world outside it slowly becomes optional and then rare. And if the bubble is strange for adults, watch what it does to children. Because this is the part parents in these houses talk about most. A child in a mega mansion can have a bedroom suite larger than a friend's entire apartment, a playroom the size of a preschool, sometimes a whole wing. And people who grew up this way describe, again and again, the same two memories. The first is that they barely used any of it. That as small children, they dragged their toys into whatever room their mother was in. Because a 5-year-old does not want square footage. A 5-year-old wants proximity. The second memory is the moment, usually around age 8 or 9, when they brought a school friend home for the first time and watched the friend's face change at the gate and understood, in a single afternoon, that their house had just answered a question about them before they had said a word. Parents fight this in ways that would sound absurd anywhere else. Some deliberately house the kids' rooms close to their own and leave the children's wing empty. Some set rules that sound like satire: no scooters in the gallery, no hide and seek without phones. Because a game of hide and seek in 30,000 square feet is not a game. It is a search operation. The house gives a child everything except the one thing every childhood memory is actually made of: a small, warm space with everyone in it. There is also a version of this house almost nobody films. 3 in the morning. A home this size is never fully asleep. Somewhere, a pool pump cycles. The security system watches 40 rooms through glowing panels, zone by zone. Wind moves a service door 3 corridors away, and you hear it, or think you do. Because the truth is that a huge house at night produces sounds no one can source, and new owners all describe the same first month of walking hallways with their phone flashlight, chasing noises that turn out to be an ice maker 2 rooms past the wine cellar. This is why the industry builds safe rooms as standard in homes at this level. A reinforced chamber, separate ventilation, its own communications, and why generators the size of small cars sit behind the hedges. Because when a storm cuts power to a normal house, you light a candle. When it cuts power to a house with elevators, climate-controlled art, sub-zero freezers, and electronic gates, you have an incident. Owners say the fear fades with time. What never entirely fades, they say, is the awareness of scale in the dark. The simple knowledge that there are 40 rooms right now, under your own roof, and you cannot say for certain what is in any of them. And now ask the question the ballroom has been waiting for. Because these houses are built, above everything, to entertain. The ballroom, the catering kitchen, the motor court that parks 60 cars, the lawn engineered for tents. And here's the number that haunts them. Estate staff and event planners will tell you the grand spaces in most private mansions are used, really used, a handful of times a year. Twice, maybe 3 times. The rest of the year, the ballroom is the most expensive empty room in America, dusted twice a week, lit for no one. And when the party does come, the owner discovers what hosting at this level actually means. Weeks of planning, valet contracts, catering crews, insurance riders, security briefings, and then, at midnight, an army of strangers breaking it all down while you go to bed inside a working event venue. The morning after a gala, the invisible service performs its greatest trick. By noon, there is no evidence 150 people were ever there. Owners describe standing in the silent reset ballroom the next day with a strange feeling they can't name. The house was built for that night. The night is over. The house is still here, waiting for the next one, and the calendar says it is 4 months away. If you are enjoying this walk through the other side of the tour, this is the one moment I will ask. Subscribe. This channel exists to take you inside the worlds that money builds. The bills, the machinery, the daily reality, one world per video. And stay with me, because we have arrived at the part of the house nobody films at all. Here's the third payment, and it is the one that reorganizes everything you have heard so far. The house is a job, not a metaphor. A literal operational job. A staffed estate is a small business. 10 to 20 employees means payroll, scheduling, holiday coverage, performance issues, turnover, hiring, and firing. Someone has to decide when the roof gets done and which of 3 bids to trust. Someone has to manage the manager. Owners who came from running companies describe a bitter little irony. They sold the business, bought the dream house, and woke up as the CEO of a smaller, needier company that happens to contain their bed. The house generates decisions the way a company generates email. And there is no inbox zero. There is always a wing under repair, a system being replaced, a person on the staff with a problem. One family office advisor describes clients who genuinely love their estates and still book hotel rooms to get away from them. Read that again. They vacation from their house. And the fourth payment is the quietest one. The house stops being yours in a way that is hard to explain until you have felt it. Everything is always perfect, which means nothing carries your fingerprints. You put a book down, it is realigned. You leave a sweater on the couch. It is folded and returned to your closet before you miss it. The house is curated, photographed, insured, staffed, and maintained to a standard. And slowly you realize the standard is the real owner, and you are its most important guest. More than one owner has described the same tiny rebellion: a single messy room, a den, a workshop. One room the staff is instructed to never touch, defended like a border. When people who have everything fight for the right to their own clutter, that tells you something true about what a home actually is. So now you can see the whole machine, the distances, the contraction into 3 rooms, the invisible hotel running around you, the second kitchen protecting you from the first, the vendors, the bubble, the kids dragging their toys to wherever you are, the unexplained sounds at 3 in the morning, the ballroom waiting 4 months for its night, the job, the fingerprints. Which brings us to the third promise. What happens to these owners after 5 or 10 years of this? The data from the luxury market tells the story with unusual honesty. The resale market for the biggest houses is famously difficult. The pool of buyers for a 30,000 square foot estate is tiny, and agents describe mega listings sitting for years, cutting price after price, because the next generation of wealth, by and large, does not want them. And the owners themselves, when they talk about what they did next, repeat a pattern that sounds almost scripted. They sold the big house. They bought something smaller, better, and easier. And they describe the day the estate sold, not with grief, but with a word that should be impossible in this context: relief. Some of the wealthiest people alive have made the same choice in public, staying for decades in relatively modest homes, while their peers built palaces. And when asked why, the answer is always some version of the same sentence. The palace owns you back. Because that is the honest physics of a mega mansion, and the thing no tour can show you. Below a certain size, you own a house. Beyond a certain size, somewhere past the point where you can no longer hear your own family, a house becomes an organization. And an organization must be run, and whatever must be run, runs you. The fantasy you buy on day one is real, and it lasts, by most accounts, a few weeks. What you hold for the next 20 years is the operation. The first morning is magnificent. It is the 10,000th morning that sends people back to the market. And here's the final twist, the cleanest fact in this whole story. That first morning, the echo, the sunlight, the main character feeling, you can simply rent it. The very rich figured this out long ago. It is why the mansion rental market exists, why the most expensive houses on earth earn their keep, hosting weddings, shoots, and summers. You can buy the best 2 weeks of mega mansion life, the only 2 weeks that survive contact with reality, and let someone else own the other 50. The dream is real. It is just not a purchase. It is a visit. So be honest with me in the comments, because this comment section is the best part of this channel. Would you actually live in one, knowing all of this? Which room do you think you would stop entering first? And if money were no object, would you rather own the mansion or rent the fantasy 2 weeks a year? Tell me, I read every single comment. And the answer that starts the best argument becomes the next video. If you want the other half of this story, the one with the numbers, the property tax, the staff payroll, the insurance, we have already counted every bill of owning one of these, and it is on this channel. Until next time, the tour shows you the house. We show you the life.